There's a washer in here. It looks all chewed up. So before we get any further, I'm gonna have to address this and see what's going on with this. Why it's so chewed up. Because I don't think that's gonna last like that. Hello everyone, welcome back to Center Stand Mechanics. My name is Kyle, and today we're going to do some more work to the XS650 engine. And I'm going to start with putting the clutch back together and installing it on the engine. And then I want to kind of turn the motor over and run it through the gears and check to make sure all that's working. And then probably move over to the starter. I want to see if the electric start will work. I haven't actually tested that yet, so I want to see if that's working, and then possibly look into the oil pump. I want to take the oil pump apart, make sure everything's clean and looking like it's working properly before I put the side cover on. See how we can get into today. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I got most of the clutch pieces all out here ready to go. I've got the print off of the manual on the page where it shows how the clutch goes together. And there's all these little spacers and you know, collar things and bearings, and everything has to go in order. And kind of shows you how it's supposed to be all sandwiched together here. There's various different layers to it. It's like the 7-layer dip. But yeah, so we're gonna put this together. It's got a little thing of oil here. I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil on the subject here. Okay, so first we put on this little washer. It's fairly thin, and it goes on first, and then we've got a bigger washer. I'll put some oil on it, and then it goes on second, and then you got this spacer thing. It's kind of fancy. It's got these grooves cut into it. If you can see that, it's actually got some holes drilled in it too for the oil to go through. So we'll put a little bit of oil on that. And it appears to me that this thing is the same on both sides. Like I can't really see a wrong way or a right way to put this on. We'll put that on next. And then we put our clutch basket on. Put some oil. And we'll put some oil on here. Put some here. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to put some on this outer gear here. And then this slides over top of that special spacer, like so. And then next goes this. It's got a wide open space in the middle to go. It goes over top of that spacer. Right, put some oil on it too. And then there's a bearing that goes on next. We put that on. And it sits right on top of that thing. And then there's this bearing. We'll make sure we get lots of oil on this. Put oil on both sides. Okay. And that sits on top of that collar too. And then this one goes on, but it doesn't go onto that bigger spacer with the fancy grooves on it. It goes up against it. It sits on top of the splines, but it just goes up against the spacer like that. And then you should feel it nice and smooth in there. Okay, and then the next part to go on is going to be the inner spindle thing that holds all the clutch plates. Okay, so now this goes on. Like so. And that should spin nice and smooth. And then there's a special washer. If you look at it closely, it's kind of twisted in, like it's so when you tighten it, it's spring loaded, so it kind of locks the thing on, so the nut can't back off. And then we got our nut. Okay, so now this nut gets torqued down to 65 foot-pounds of torque, and I'm going to go get my torque wrench and set that up. Very carefully, I got my screwdriver in here holding the inner basket, and I'm resting it on the crankshaft so it won't turn. I'm gonna very carefully see if I can get 65 pounds. There we go. Look at that. Try it again one more time. There, 65. Perfect. There. Okay, so before I forget, and then this little piece goes in here. And then we start weaving on the clutch plate. Okay, so first we put it on an outer clutch plate. And then we go to an inner. And these steel ones, I'm going to put a little bit of oil on them just so they don't rust in there while I'm taking my time putting this engine together. And then these clip into the, not clip in, but they just rest on the inner clutch basket. Okay, so if you look closely at this, there's a little dot stamped into this inner part of the basket, and then there's a hole right here. And then what you want to do is you want to line those up so they match, and it goes on like that. And I think it has to do with this being balanced, and that's the way they've balanced it in the factory. And then so if you put it on like that, it'll be balanced properly, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what that's all about. I vaguely remember something about that. So now that that's lined up, we can go ahead and put there's clutch springs and bolts on. Okay, so those are all down. I know these say in the book they want to be torqued to 7 foot-pounds of torque. So I'm going to try to set that up and see if I can achieve that. With it might be difficult because these are Phillips heads and they're getting kind of stripped out. So we'll give the torque wrench a try. And if that's giving us a hard time, I got this impact thing I can tighten them up with. Okay, so I got the torque wrench here. Let's see if we can torque this down. I'm kind of holding it from turning with this big screwdriver here. It's kind of awkward. All right. So let's move on to a starter motor. I wonder if we can get this starter to turn over. I grab a battery and connect it to the positive post here and see if we can get this thing to turn over. That'd be cool. Okay, so what I've done here is I've hooked up a battery. I got some just random wire here, and I've made myself a ground right here, and then the positive lead for the starters right over here. Put my finger on it for you. And then so by rights, if I hit this to the positive lead on that starter, we should have some action here. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, sounds a little crunchy. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, sure is noisy. There's a washer in here. It looks all chewed up. So before we get any further, I'm gonna have to address this and see what's going on with this. Why it's so chewed up. Because I don't think that's gonna last like that. It looks like when I hit the starter, it kind of thrusts against this washer. That there's something going on in here, and it doesn't sound right. It sounds really crunchy and it's skipping. So unfortunately, I think I'm gonna have to take this back off and get in behind here, pop this off, and have a look. But that's okay. That's the way she goes sometimes. Yeah, we'll probably flip this thing back over and we'll get into it. So yeah, I'm gonna take this back off and have a look at that starter mechanism thing. It just something doesn't sound right in there. So I need to have a look at it. Wish I'd have known that before I put this on. That's the way it goes sometimes. Oh man, I had this all torqued down and looking tickety-boo. And yeah. So I'll try to show you what I was looking at here. See this washer thing here? It's all stretched out and looks like it's just about to pop off. And it doesn't look right. So let's get that out of there and see what we're working with here. Oh, actually wasn't even held on by anything. Just came off. See if we can get this off. Oh yeah, look at this. Yeah, so I see a problem here. See all these teeth? They're all messed up. It's not supposed to look like that. They're all smashed in. And that's the problem here. Huh. Everything else looks okay, but yeah, these teeth, that's why it was making that grinding sound. And there's a bunch of metal in here too. Yeah. Alrighty then, yeah, so that's good. Yeah. Let's see what I got for parts here. Okay, so I found the problem. This is what happened. So this here, the starter goes towards on the other side here, turns the gear, which turns this shaft, which spins this, and when this turns, this little piece shoots into the crank. It shoots into the crank and turns the crank and starts the engine, and then it retracts once it's started. But if you look at it, it's all chewed up. You see that? And I think what happened is when whoever had this apart, they put it in or whatever, and then there's this washer here, and then there's these half moon things that go, I guess, well, they look like crescent moons. They're like a keeper clip that's cut in half, and there's a groove on this right in here. Like, I'll put the screwdriver on it. There's a groove right here, and these, I'll pull them out here, and these little half moon things, they sit in there and keep the whole thing in place, because when it turns, it thrusts at gear, it probably pushes back, and these are in place. So those were gone. I didn't even find them. I don't know where they went, but I think what happened is there's also this washer here, and it's kind of cupped on one side, and I think what that does is it holds those half moon pieces in place, right? And then you've got your snap ring that goes over top and holds that in place. So what I think what happened is, when I noticed when I took this thing apart, this is the one that came off. I don't want to mix these up. Put that back. So this is the one that come off, and it was facing up. This little lip was facing up, and so I don't even know if these half moon things were in there or not, but they weren't there. And so what it allowed the gear to do is when it turned, it pushed farther than it's supposed to. Plus, it had nothing to really keep it in place. And of course, it blew apart, which it damages, which is what I noticed at first. I noticed this was kind of messed up, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look right. And you can tell it's all been blown apart, and I think it was put in wrong. So yeah, so anyway, so there's that. I dug through my spare parts and I found, oh, that's the old one, hold on. I dug through my spare parts and I found this one, and it's in a lot better shape. Plus, that's where I found those two half moon things. So now I'm going to put this back together properly, and yeah, it should work good now. So this goes in here like so. I'll just show you real quick. See how that, and this little tab here rides in this channel right here, and it's allowed to slide back and forth, which it's kind of a weird way of doing it, but this also turns on here, but there's friction. So I can see what they're doing here, but it's a strange way of doing it. But whatever, that's what we got to work with. And so yeah, I'm just making sure that this is all in place. And then so yeah, we'll put this on. And make sure that's working properly. Yeah. Okay. So then this will go on, right? And here's those half moon things. I'm calling them half moon things, but they're just like two halves of a washer, right? Like that. Right, and then they go on either side of this little shaft. Make sure they get down in there. Like so. And then this one goes, this is what they did wrong. They put it on like that, but it's supposed to go like that. It keeps those two little half moons together, like that. And then we put the snap ring on, right? And then this goes on over top, like so. Make sure that's seated properly. And this piece goes on, and this connects the starter to that gear. And then this is like a little keeper for that. It just sits here like so. Well, should we try it and make sure it works properly first? I'd say so, before we put the clutch on. Again, I have to take it off again. Just gonna ground our negative. Okay, this should work a lot better now. Oh yeah, sounds a lot better. Cool. Cool. I'll call that a win. The next day, and I did some thinking last night, and it dawned on me that, one, I forgot to put this little piece on the clutch. So I'm going to do that while it's apart. And I was thinking about it, and these are the bolts that hold the clutch springs in place. They go you know, right in here and hold the cover on. And one of the problems with them is, if you look closely at them, they're Phillips heads or JIS heads, and they're getting stripped out, and I can't torque them down properly. And so that was kind of bugging me a bit, and I was trying to think of a way to fix that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a slot across the top of them, and then that way I'll be able to get a slotted screwdriver on here and then get some proper torque, and then I can properly tighten these up, because the way it was before, there was just this here was just slipping out, and this is a JIS screwdriver, so I got the right tip in there and everything, but it's yeah, it was just slipping out, and if you look at them, they're all mowed out and everything. So we're going to fix that. We're going to put this on and get that finally put together right. Okay, so let's start with this one. I'm just going to simply put these in my vise, and I was thinking about how to go about doing this, and I could get a Dremel tool in here and cut a slit, but I think the Dremel tool is just going to skip around and make a big fuss, so I think we'll just do it old school. Let's get our hacksaw blade and just nicely see if we can't cut ourselves a nice groove in the top of here. Okay, so I think the combination between the hacksaw and the angle grinder is going to work. So I'm just going to do all these up, and the hacksaw will create a guideline, and then the angle grinder go in there and open it up a bit, because the hacksaw wasn't quite wide enough to get the tip of the screwdriver in, but I think that's going to work now. So we'll go ahead and get all these done up, and normally, you know, a normal person would probably change these out for new ones, but we're in the apocalypse now, so we gotta make do with what we got. So yeah, if you just score a line with the hacksaw, you come in here with the angle grinder, and it'll make it wider. Yeah, see, that feels a lot better on there. So I'll do all these up here. So yeah, so now these have some deep slots in them, and I'll be able to torque them all the way down, which is the plan here. So we got that, and then we got our washer. It's kind of banged up. I think I'm going to flatten it out a bit in the vise. If we can't straighten that out a bit. Okay, so this piece, it has these little tabs, and they go into here like so, and then you take your little sort of domed lock washer, and it the rim goes down first, so it's like it's shaped like this. If you look at it, that way it applies the spring pressure towards the nut and helps lock it on there. And then this goes like so. And then we'll torque this down again to 65 foot-pounds of torque. And everything up to this point was done correctly too. So before I noticed the starter gear problem, everything behind this part, like the way I put the washers and spacers and stuff, was good. It was just I left this little safety washer thing that you bend over the side of the nut when you torque, after you torque it down. That's the only thing I left out. So I've just got the screwdriver as a crowbar, and it's just stuck through here into one of these splines and resting against the outer basket, and then the screwdriver is also resting against the crank, and everything combined is allowing me to keep the center hub stationary long enough for me to torque this down. There we go, 65 foot-pounds of torque right there. We'll do one more. There we go. Now I'm going to take and bend the corner of this washer we just installed back over itself here. See if I could reach in there and bend that flap over. Oh yeah, that's the ticket right there. So you just bend this little flap over, and it helps stop the nut from backing off and having it fly off in there while you're running it. So, pretty important part, if you ask me. There. Yeah, so hopefully you can see that in there. I bent the little tab over, like so, on both sides. Yeah, don't want to forget to do that. Okay, we put this little piece in. I'll put our clutch plates back on. Okay, so now I can get in here and torque these. Torque them down. They're tighter than they were before, and these are just not a very good design. Having a screw head in here, there should be a bolt, so much easier, but that's okay. I'm confident that'll work. And yeah, so that part's done. Okay, so this here is the engine cover that goes on the side here, and in it we've got the Kickstarter assembly here, so gear and stuff, which I'll probably put on the engine first, and then we also have the oil pump right here, and so it still has the gasket on here, so I'm going to carefully get this gasket off, try to save it, and I'll get these gears out of here. We'll clean this up a little bit and make sure it's good to put back on the engine. This Kickstarter gear should just slide right out. The Kickstarter gear appears to be in pretty good shape. The splines where the actual kickstart lever attaches look pretty good, and the gear looks like it's in good shape. Everything's moving properly. There's tension on this little you know, clip here that makes it slide out, and the spring looks to be in not too bad a shape. So yeah, so let's give this a little wipe and probably check this door where it goes in. And then this, I'm going to tilt the engine up on its side a little bit. And then give this a little bit of oil. Put a little bit of oil down here where it sits. Just paint this up a little bit. You gotta rotate it until this little nub fits under here. That's what I think is going on here. So something like that. There. Okay. It would be nice to get this off. There we go. Perfect. I like it when that happens. We'll clean that up and reuse it. Okay. So, there we are. So, it's really important to check out, make sure the oil pump's clean and gonna work properly. So it's under here, up and behind here. Right in this area, this is where the oil filter goes. And then, so I think all that's holding this thing on is we gotta get a 10 millimeter. Okay. Yeah, so it was turning a bit, but it's really stiff. Let's get this off. Back this all the way out and see what we got in behind here. Okay. So we've got a special little bolt, and it's got a little tapered end, or not tapered, but it's filed down. This one's bent. If you look at it really closely, it's kind of bent, so I have to look into straightening that out, or making a different one, or seeing if I have another one in my parts. So there's that. Now this thing has to slide out, so yeah, a little bit stiff, but it's coming. There we go. Okay, so this is where your tachometer goes on to, and there's a little O-ring right here. We'll probably look into changing that one out. See if I got another one. And we'll clean this up a bit. And then this should come out. Oh yeah, there we go. And there's a little flat washer. It goes right in here. And this one appears to be missing. Yep. So that's put in wrong. So there's supposed to be this little flat washer here. I'll have to search around and see if I got one. And then I'll pull this out. And then now, it's a good thing I'm looking into all this stuff, because I'm finding all these things are wrong. Okay, so that comes off. This gear comes off like so. There's a little Woodrove key in here too. Right there. And that keeps the gear on the shaft here. So, okay, so this is pulling off now. Okay, so that goes down like that. It's got this little recess part. It goes down like that. Take the Woodrove key out, put it on top of there. It actually looks like it's okay. It's not sheared or anything. Okay, so now we've got 3 JIS screws, and this cover will come off, and then we'll see the oil pump. Okay, so here's our little pump assembly here. And housing this little star-shaped gizmo, and then our little pump shaft. This looks like there's a little, little keyed thing right there. Yeah. So everything appears to be in okay shape. It's a little dirty. It looks like rusty oil in here. So we'll get this cleaned out and put back together. We'll clean this whole case off and get this looking a lot better than it does. Look at this right here. All kinds of sludge in here. Oh yeah, yummy. So I'm back, and I've got all this cleaned up, and everything's kind of ready to go back on. One of the things I found while I was cleaning this up, and it's a good thing I noticed this, but this here is the main part of the oil pump, and if you look really closely, there's a crack in it right there. It's really hard to see. It's a very fine crack, but if I pull on it, it spreads it apart. Let me see if I can get a blade. There, now you can see it. So it was cracked. So I'm glad I opened that up and had a look at it. So that one's garbage. Luckily, I have a parts engine, and so I went and pulled this one off, and it doesn't have a crack, so we'll put it on when we put this together, so that's good. And another thing I found was this is the bolt that came off. It went in the side here somewhere. What side? Yeah, right here. And it keeps the whole speedometer shaft in, and it's got a bent tip to it too. So I grabbed this one. It's straight. It was also parts engine too, so we'll put those over there. We'll put that there, and we'll go to put this oil pump and stuff back together. Oh, another thing. Sorry, another thing I found is there's this little washer, and it goes on the end here like this. So when this thing comes through, it sits down here, and then so when this spins, it doesn't bore a hole through the side of your case, and because the steel's obviously harder than the aluminum. So that wasn't there when I pulled this apart, but I got this as well, so we'll put that on when we go to install it. So yeah, a couple little things, but you know, small details turn into big problems if not done correctly. And we'll put some oil in here. So then there's this little pin. So it's got these little arrows stamped into the top here, and I looked in the manual and I couldn't find what they mean. I mean, the thing looks the same on both sides, but I'm going to put them up. I hope that's right. That goes like that. If it's not, I'll let you know. Both the arrows are up. Just want to make sure that's turning fine. There it is. There's this little key. It's like a little Woodrove key, and it sits in this little groove right here. Now we put our gear on, and then it's got this little recess part into it, and it goes down like so. Right on that top of that Woodrove key. There, that's all the way down now. And then this thing has a recess in the top of it, and it points up. And then it also catches part of that Woodrove key and sits on there like so. So that's keyed together now on that shaft. And then the next thing that goes on There's going to be this little lock washer that goes down, and then this little nut. Like so. I might torque that when I get more of it together here. Now we can put this tachometer shaft in and then oil up. That's pretty good. I'm going to drop some oil down in here. And get some oil all over this. And don't forget our little washer that goes on the tip like this. There. I'm gonna look for another O-ring because this one is old and not very good. There. Put that one in there. Let's see how that one does. At least I can change this if the motor's together. If it's not right. I'll get a little oil on there. I'll get some oil down here. And we'll wiggle that on. And then we gotta line up this hole to the outside. Down just a little bit more. I think that's it. And that should find its way all the way into that hole. Let's cut into that. There. Just cinch that down like that, and then come back around. And I just want to tighten this. There. So that's nice and tight now. And there. So that's good. That's all put back together properly now. And shouldn't have any problems with that. Just about ready to go on now. I think I'm going to end the video there because I gotta start cleaning up and I gotta go in. So I didn't get to everything I wanted to do today, but I'm trying to keep these videos short. It's that's a big challenge when you're doing this stuff, because sometimes things kind of drag on and you're like, oh man, and you got to skip through a bunch of it and try to make it interesting and everything, but short at the same time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. I'm trying to build it up, and you know, so I can do more videos like this. And yeah, so this thing's moving along slowly but surely, and Eventually we'll have it all together and we'll put it back into the bike frame. So until then, stay tuned, and we'll see you again real soon. Center Stand Mechanics out.